information about what may be coming down the pike from between now and 2012. Mm-hmm. We just went to Russia and interviewed Boriska, the child with past life recall of a life on Mars, who started talking at the age of 7, and we're going to be releasing that interview fairly soon. Basically saying Moscow is going to be inundated by water in a very matter-of-fact tone, and that it's going to happen in 2009. He doesn't know, at this age of like 11, he doesn't know why or how. He just knows it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. We're getting all kinds of evidence. There's evidence of underground bases, of preparation to put, certain groups of people in safe places and let the rest of the people, in fact, something on the order of 2/3 of the population, just wing it and basically, go by the wayside. That's
probably a very large underestimate.
It's an underestimate. Okay. Now, all of this, we don't like to believe that this is going to happen or that some cataclysm is so massive going to hit the earth in such a way that that these events are going to cause, total destruction and the end of human life. But we're being approached.
Let me interrupt. It's not the end of human life. It's the end of this cycle of civilization. And we will go on, the human race will go on, and if past evidence is accurate, which it is, there will be a new cycle, there will be a new set of cultures and civilizations, and we'll be the myths of their minds and their scribes and their sages, and they will someday develop spaceflight, and they will go to the moon, and they will have people who will keep the truth from them, and the cycle perpetuates ad nauseum unless we stop it here. So the name of the game, all of us who are looking at this from various facets, like the elephant, that's why the elephant is sitting over there, is we all need to combine our forces, our resources, our knowledge base, our goodwill, and most of all enlist you guys out there watching this and change the script. The tools are there. I now know the tools are there. No matter what is, quote, coming, it can be dealt with because the physics is so extraordinary. The problem is political and spiritual will. And there's a small group that want us, in the worst case scenario, to all go away. So they're not solving. They're not lifting a finger to solve the problem. In fact, they are perpetuating the illusion, the lie, being different at every level, that there is nothing that can be done. In fact, from our research, there is an extraordinary amount that can be done. In fact, it can be stopped. It can be changed. The first way that you conquer an enemy, and to them we are the enemy, is you make them conquer themselves. You make them give up. You make them want to stop fighting. You tell them it's hopeless. Remember the guys in Star Trek, the Borg, fighting them is futile. Resistance is futile. Well, it's not. That is another level of the lie.
Okay, so if you can take the next, where we have, 15 minutes and tell us in some kind of form or fashion what kind of technology or what kind of physics are you talking about? Are you talking about time travel? Are you talking about, it's hyperdimensional physics, I'm sure. What is it that you see as the solution? And I know that you've been working with David Wilcock, and he has a very positive attitude towards the future. Is his positive attitude coming because of research you guys have done together, or because he has some of the same sources that you have?
It's a bit of both. Okay. The reason I got intrigued with Wilcock is because he was independently coming up with some of the same stuff we were coming up with. And I love independent confirmation. And that's the life's blood of real science. When somebody separate, you've never talked to, presents you with a database, and my God, it looks kind of like your database, and you never talk to each other. So that's how Wilcock and I got together. We have worked together. We have developed joint information and sources, and we've done, some publications to try to get the word out. In terms of what to do, again, I'm not certain that even the best and the brightest of the in crowd knows what's really going to happen. because I found so many instances where they're working off these old texts, these old ancient documents, these rituals, and they obviously haven't a clue about the real physics behind them. So they could literally be spending all this money, which they're stealing from us, which is trillions. They could be building their huge underground cities like in the Urals in Russia. They could be doing their seed bank, which they're doing, remember, up in Norway?
Yes.
They've got this, socked away for the... I mean, it's all there. You can see what they're doing to get ready, but suppose they're being misled. Mm-hmm. Suppose they're not reading the physics correctly, because they don't know there's a physics. It's so compartmentalized that the guys that are working with the physics, they're developing these neat spaceships and all that stuff, or the energy sources, they're not talking to the political folks that we're seeing or making these other decisions, because remember, it's secret, secret, secret. They would rather give up a major American city than release the secret of the physics, because if they do that, they totally lose control. And their purview, their paradigm, their whole reason for existing is all about control. So that they can't do. They can't go there. They can't say, maybe we're wrong. Maybe we haven't read this right. I mean, no one has called me up on the phone lately from deep inside and said, hey, Hoagland, what do you really think is going to happen? Unless you guys work for them, in which case it's a very elegant technique. The point is that you have to go by the numbers. And the numbers tell me at this point two very important things. One is it's not a date. It's not going to happen at the stroke of midnight on December 21, 2012, or 11:11 a.m. That's part of the synchronized ritual. That's a reinforcement that this is really based on the physics, because the code is 11:11. 11:11 is actually, I'll tell you the answer, then you can go and back engineer how we get there. 11:11 is a code for 19.5, which is the key geometry of the upwelling physics of every planet in the solar system. So that tells, it's like the swastika. It's like another version of imprinting something, an imprint, that this is really physics-based, HD physics-based.
Okay.
So there are two tracks using this physics to avert what is to come, if there is something bad coming. One is technology. I strongly suspect that HARP, in fact, is one of the positive technologies protected by all the stupid lies all around it. I mean, the worst case scenario, the mind control and they're doing this, they're bombarding people with M-rays, all this stuff. No, it's to protect what HARP's real raison d'etre is, which is to try to work with plasmas in the ionosphere, because plasmas are a key to controlling torsion waves, and torsion waves are the 3D etheric manifestation of the HD physics in this dimension. So you got a huge multi-gigawatt transmitter working with plasmas upstairs at the poles. Now we find the Russians are very interested in both poles. They've sent an expedition to the North Pole. Putin did something very curious this past summer. And they also sent a not-so-secret intelligence guy in charge of their intelligence activities to the South Pole. Now, what was that all about? Well, it's because the poles are the secret to controlling the Earth if it wants to flip over. So someone somewhere is actually working on a technology to prevent the worst case scenario. That's good news, because they live here. That means at least one group isn't going to try to leave Dodge. They're actually working to solve the problem. And I can point to, there are some other cute aspects of HARP that we don't have time to get into, but they're on the web and they're in Dark Mission, and they're just so amazingly cool, affirming that some group actually is looking to solve the problem for all of us. Okay. And that's only with the physics and technology we can see. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing. Okay. That's classified. In other words, they could, as I told one neocon some years ago, when I was having this discussion with him, and it was really amusing, because this is somebody that lives, he's a very high-level banker. Go to the money, follow the money, which I did. He lives right next to George Bush down in Houston, all right? So he's obviously intimately involved in that set of conversations. And I laid out exactly at that point, which was several years ago, what I thought might happen. Not will, but might. And he looked at me, and it was the second most intriguing thing that had been told me after Gene Roddenberry's statement. He looked at me and he says, but you realize, Hoagland, that you'll get no credit for this. And I said, what? He says, well, but this has to be done in secret. No,